Audio quality is one of the most fundamental aspects of your podcast. So choosing whether to use an MP3 or a WAV audio file can have an impact on this quality. However, it can be a bit of a mystery deciding which one to choose. In this video, we're going to explain the difference between the two, which one you should use for your podcast, and if you can actually tell the difference. In the most basic sense, MP3 files are compressed and a lower quality, but the smaller and more manageable file size. A WAV file is an uncompressed and lossless file, but will usually be a bit larger. When encoded, part of the MP3 audio are stripped from the recording to compress the file. The compression is beyond the hearing of most, so you're unlikely to notice a difference, and nor will your guests, especially as most podcasts are with voice and not music, where you can tell more of a difference. Let's talk about file sizes. Some podcast hosts have limits on your file size, so if you have a particularly long recording, it might make sense to export your show as an MP3. In general, MP3 files can be 5 to 10 times smaller than WAV files, so you can fit your recording into your allocation far easier. This means you can share your podcast without exceeding your limits, and you also won't need to spend extra money on storing your files. Storage doesn't come for free. Due to the smaller file sizes, your listeners will also be able to download your show much more quickly and use less memory on their device. You won't have any problems playing your MP3 audio on Macs, iOS devices, iPhones, Android phones, and more. This means you can easily distribute your show without having to convert it. WAV also tends to be very compatible, but MP3 files are definitely the king here. MP3 files are considered a lossy digital audio format. You may find some compression artifacts in your recording as the files compress. This type of effect can cause hissing, ringing, warping in the final file. If you're old enough, I am not, you might know that Microsoft and IBM created WAV files to replace unwanted computer sounds. Now, WAV files are the default lossless audio file for producers around the world. This is because they aren't compressed when they're encoded, which is where the name lossless comes from. You don't lose any of your audio. This is compared to the lossy MP3 files. Because of this, WAV files are higher quality. The main downside of the WAV files is the file size. They can be 5 to 10 times bigger than their lossy counterparts. First of all, you can have more flexible editing. Because you have more data in the file, you have more to work with in your edit. If you shoot photos, WAV audio is like raw photos. You just have more data to work with and manipulate your sound, add different effects, much like you would when you need to manipulate your images in photography. I mean, this isn't really a competition because WAV wins hands down on audio quality. WAV files aren't compressed, so you'll be getting the full quality that you intended in both the recording and the edit. Your audio signal isn't altered in any way, so you don't lose any of the frequencies or effects. The high quality of the WAV files comes at the cost of being much larger. This can cause you to go over your limits that your podcast host might set, or take up a bunch more storage on your editing machine or online storage. Whereas MP3 files are pretty much the standard across devices and streaming services, you may face a little bit of a roadblock when it comes to using WAV files. Generally, because of the size of the files, many services would prefer you use an MP3 file and may even block you from uploading or using a WAV file. As with many things in podcasting, it depends. Think about the type of content you're creating. In most cases, it is hard to discern the difference between MP3 or WAV files, especially as people are either streaming the content through another service or listening in less than ideal conditions. For this, the benefits of an MP3 file make sense. How about your budget? As mentioned before, the WAV files are much larger and can leave you with extra hosting and storage costs. You've got to be really committed to your production to pay for the extra quality of the files. Finally, what does your audience want? Are they expecting a super high production value listening with expensive headphones? Or are they your average Joe listener of your spoken podcast? For the best results, we recommend recording in the highest possible quality you can, say in a WAV format to give you maximum control in your editing software. And then you can choose whether or not to export your edited audio in either an MP3 or a WAV format. Even if you then opt for the MP3 file, at least you've had the option there if WAV is required. Compressed MP3 audio files let you store and distribute your show more easily, but you sacrifice a little bit of audio quality lost in the compression algorithms. You can edit uncompressed WAV audio files more easily, they provide a much higher audio quality, but their size makes them difficult to store and stream. How about you decide? I'll play 2 clips now and you should leave a comment with which you think is the MP3 file and which one is the WAV. So I'm still recording into the Shure SM58 directly into the Focusrite 2i2. Do you think this clip is a WAV or MP3? Make sure you leave a comment below right now. I am now speaking into the Shure SM58, which is plugged into my Focusrite 2i2. Do you think this is the WAV or the MP3 file? If you guessed clip 1 was WAV and clip 2 was MP3, you were right. We're going to be producing a bunch more videos on this YouTube channel about podcasting, video interviews and more. So if you want to learn more about starting and growing a podcast, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. Thanks for watching.